Hello all. In this class, we will look at the history of artificial neural networks and also the basic neuron model. Otherwise, it is called as Maculopit's model in this session. So these are the applications which are available in my previous lecture. This is the continuation of previous session. So history of artificial neural networks, when it was developed, we are seeing nowadays everywhere ANN for practical applications, but the seed for them is already sown in 1940s or maybe in 1950s. During this 1940 and 1960, Maculopits, two people were responsible for framing the first neuron model of human brain, or in other words, artificial model of human brain. In 1949, Hebb gave some additional add-on effect to the already existing model. In 1956, the first associative memory network was introduced by Taylor, and in 1958, we have the perceptron, which is the predominantly used basic building block of artificial neural network. And then in 1960, we had the Adeline and Medellin networks. And in 1960s to 1980s, again, there were many developments. The prime development, one of the prime developments is the backpropagation neural network in 1961. Then in 1964, we had the winner-take-all algorithm. And again, there was some revolution in the multi-layer perceptron during 1969 and also during 1970s. Then we had the associative memories. We have the counter-propagation neural network. And from 1980s onwards, there were much more advancements. Single layer networks gave way for multi-layer artificial neural networks. We had Boltzmann machine. We have the different types of training rules. We have the binary associative memories also. So in this picture, you can see the scientists and the people who framed these algorithms or methods right from 1940 till 2000. So in 2010, we entered the area of deep neural network, which I'm not going to cover now. From 1940 till 2000, we had the complete revolutionary ideas in the area of artificial neural networks. So this is the basic neuron model of artificial neuron. You can see that many inputs are available which are equivalent to the dendrites which we had in the natural neuron. The second element is the soma, or the cell body in the natural neuron. Here it is replaced by a processing element which is a combination of summation and an activation function, which is responsible for doing the computational and logistical operations. And then we have the final output which is equivalent to the axon. So these are the three ways, or the three parts which are duplicated from the natural brain. So how we do the process? We have two steps in calculating the outputs of an artificial neuron. The first stage is called as net value calculation, and the second stage is called as output value calculation. The data is multiplied with a weight value. We will study about the weight value very soon, and the multiplied values are summed up together, and then they are called as the net value. When this net value is passed on through an activation function, we say that we get an output. This is a big classical example for a black box. We do not know how it works, but it really works for all the practical applications. That's why neural network is sometimes called as the hidden element of computational applications. Now you can clearly understand the analogy between ANN and biological neural network. You have soma, you have node, you have dendrites, you have input, you have the synapse, you have the weights, you have the axon and the. So activation functions, any function which reduces the dynamic range of input is called as activation function. We have different types which we are going to see in detail when we go into the algorithms. The basic type is called as linear activation function, where your input varies proportionally to the output varies proportionally to the input. The second one is binary sigmoidal activation function, which is in the shape of alphabet S, which is also called as S curve, where your data is accommodated only within the range of 0 to 1. And the mathematical equation is 1 by 1 plus e power minus x. And the third one is tangential hyperbolic function, whose range is between +1 and minus 1, and we have a separate equation for that too. So depending upon your necessity, you can choose any function of your interest.